This week on the Analog Circle podcast, we get some huge and very positive news about a feature in the Nintendo Switch 2. It is very, very exciting. We get a ton of news about Capcom's Resident Evil 9. Now, to be fair, it is rumors. But if the source of the information is who he says he is, then the possibility of his statements being true are very, very immense. We get a surprising update on what Naughty Dog has been working on, and it actually clears up some confusion as to what it is that they have been developing. And it's not the biggest update, but we do find out about a feature that is in Death Stranding 2 that will help newcomers to the franchise fit right in. But all of these stories can be found here and a lot more in episode 231 of the Analog Circle podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and welcome to the show. Welcome. Come on in, kick your feet up, relax, because we're going to have a great conversation. And if you are traveling, if you are driving, then hopefully we can accompany you to your destination. Now, with that being said, if you guys do want to be a part of the next listener feedback, you can do that two different ways. You can either call in, and the phone number is 443-627-9087 to let your voice literally be heard. Or you can email the show, and the email address is theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. Now, speaking of listener feedback, I gotta shout out the good brother Crimson Phoenix. And I have to apologize to you too, brother, because last week you had wrote in, and in your email, you were saying that PlayStation was the first one to raise their prices of games when it came to, what was that, last generation? And I was like, I don't think that's true. I think it was NBA 2K, that company, Take-Two, that were the first ones to actually raise the price. And I said on that listener feedback episode that I would look it up. Now, unfortunately, I didn't, my brother, and I felt very bad about that. So I didn't want you to think that I was ignoring you. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to look up who it was. So hopefully I can word this right, but we're going to find out who was the first one to raise their price in the gaming business. So here we go. All right. Well, I should say the gaming industry. All right. Who was the first company to raise their prices to $70? All right. It says, I want to give you a source here, brother. This is from GameSpot. It says, after all, Take-Two was one of the first companies to raise prices from $60 to $70 for new release, and some believe the company might go up another $10 for GTA 6. Okay, that was May 31st of 2024. We need something a little more concrete. Okay, here we go. It says, according to available information, Take-Two Interactive was the first company to raise game prices to $70, with their title NBA 2K21 being the first major release at that price point in August 2020. So that was this generation. Yeah, see, I thought, now, of course, y'all know my memory is shot. Most of the time, I can't remember much of anything, but I was under the impression, because I was hearing time and time again that it was this narrative that PlayStation were the first ones to raise their price. Their games were the first ones to go up. And I'm like, that's just not true. I don't think that's true, because I remember at the time, before this generation started, I think I had said, will game prices go up $70 to $70? I think that was a question I had asked. Now, this was, like I said, 4 plus years ago. And I remember driving to work, and somebody, I think it was Paris Lilly, shout out to that good brother, he had said that, I think he had tweeted out or something like that, that NBA 2K had went up, to $70. So I was like, man, oh man, I just don't know why all of a sudden PlayStation is getting the heat for this when it was 2K. And to the previous article, again, from that came out May 31st, 2024, GameSpot, them talking about GTA 6, that they may put an extra $10 on that price point of that game. I would say if any company would try to do it, it would definitely be Take-Two. Of course, we don't know if that's going to be the case right now, but I would definitely say don't put it past them to do so. But again, I wanted to shout you out again, Crimson Phoenix. Hopefully, brother, you'll be able to write in again. I know you said you got a little bit of free time on your hands, so hopefully with that free time, you'll be able to write on in again. So shout out to you again, my brother. Now, with that being said, I do believe it is time to get into what we all come here for, and that is the gaming news that went down. So let's get things started with some shocking news coming from Xbox's own Perfect Dark. And I actually got this story from VGC. Now, as reported by GameFile, game designer Brian Horton, who is named as the creative director of PlayStation exclusive Marvel's Wolverine, being developed by, of course, I call them the Big Brother studio Insomniac Games, back in 2021. Now, over the summer, Brian Horton has left the studio. And just for context, Wolverine is now being led by creative director Marcus Smith and game director Mike Dolly, who both worked on the masterpiece, I call it a masterpiece, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, because I saw some reports that were saying that they no longer have any creative directors working on Wolverine. So I just wanted to clear that up, but let's keep going. Now, as far as the change in leadership goes, according to GameFile source, they say it was a result of creative decisions around the game. So getting back to Brian Horton, since he's left Insomniac, he has now joined back up with his Crystal Dynamics alumni at the Initiative. Now, just on a side note, Horton did work on Rise of the Tomb Raider, hence his previous relationship with Crystal Dynamics. Now, an Xbox rep did say this: Horton will be, quote, bringing his wealth of experience to the upcoming reboot of the classic Secret Agent series, end of quote. So here it is. You have a guy that was over at Sony working on the highly anticipated, at least in my opinion, Wolverine, Insomniac's Wolverine game over the summer. He finishes up on that. He leaves Insomniac. Now this type of talent is back over there at Crystal Dynamics, hence being over there with the team that is working on the reboot to Perfect Dark. Now, with this kind of talent, man, it really, really gets me excited, makes me even more interested in what he can bring to the table to the Perfect Dark reboot. Him being able to link back up with his guys over there at Crystal Dynamics, being in the mix. Hopefully this will help the Initiative, who are the lead guys working on it, the lead development team working on Perfect Dark, the reboot. Hopefully this will give them just that much more talent and much more cohesiveness to bring out a fantastic game, because I will say during that E3 show, and I know it's not called E3, I know that, but it was in the E3 season when they showed off Perfect Dark. Oh my gosh, bravo. Excellent looking work. So hopefully that's something that they will be able to work on, make better, having his experience over there at Sony. Oh man, working on Wolverine with Insomniac. Oh man, it really, really gets me excited about this title just that much more. And hopefully when it comes out, we will get a very, very polished and fantastic product, because, I'm rooting for your Initiative. I mean, golly, my guys over there that were working on H-Blade 2, didn't really come out the way that I was hoping it would have, but it is what it is. The quality though, the graphics were there. Amazing. Masterpiece with the graphics. Just all of the other things that go into making a great game, it was lacking. But Ninja Theory, I still got hope for them. I still think that they are a top tier studio. And I think that hopefully with more time, because they did say they did not have the efficient amount of time to really make the game the way that they wanted to, hopefully they'll be able to do that on the next project. But we'll see what happens with all of those guys up under the Xbox banner. And again, for this Perfect Dark reboot, I'm hoping that we get a masterpiece. Let's go ahead, guys, and let's move on into the next story that I actually got from PlayStation Lifestyle. So that was a tough week for Sony last week, having the shutdown of Firewalk Studios, and it looks like Sony Interactive Entertainment co-CEO Herman Hulse had a few things to say about the PlayStation brand in a press release. Now, he said he's a, quote, big believer, end of quote, in, quote, creative experimentation and developing new IPs, end of quote. Now, that is fantastic because for a little while now, people have been saying the creativity of what PlayStation brings has been a little stagnant, and they wish that they had kept the Japan studio because that was kind of their lane. The things that they did were very creative, and they would hope that PlayStation would get back to that. So it is, again, great to hear that Herman Hulse is saying he's a believer in the creative experimentation and developing new IPs. So that also goes into something that Hiroki Totoki interestingly said, now not verbatim, but he pretty much said that Sony doesn't have enough IPs. Now that's a mind blow to me. Well, PlayStation, that is, doesn't have enough IPs. I start going through my mind. I'm like, wait a minute. You got Uncharted. You got Horizon, the Horizon franchise. You got, Sucker Punch's, Ghost of Tsushima. You also got Infamous. You got doggone The Last of Us. You got The Last of Us. So I'm like, I don't know what Hiroki Totoki, I don't know, but look, he's in that position for a reason. He's a very intelligent man. So obviously he knows something that at least I don't know or don't see. So again, it is good to hear that Herman Hulse, he's into this creative experimentation and developing new IP. So hopefully that means more new IPs will be coming soon. And he added that while there are benefits to, quote, embracing both, well, end of quote, but, quote, sustainable financials, end of quote, are equally important for growth. Now, this is the thing. I kind of butchered that, but basically he was saying that sustainable financials are that he's embracing both sustainable financials. I'm saying that they are equally important for growth. Now, that's true. And to me, I think that what that means is them going into that genre of the gas games, games as a service. I think that pretty much says that, look, they're not done with that yet. They need sustainable financials in order to keep things going. And what does the gas games bring? It brings us, a sustainable financial mark for you every month. That's a game that you can depend on to bring more money in. And I understand they got Call of Duty. Shout out to AB. He gave me a stat where 80% of the sales over in the UK are coming under the PlayStation 5 banner. 80%. Well, just the PlayStation banner alone. I don't know if it's PS5 and PS4, but it was under the PlayStation banner. That is wild. 80%. So they're making money off of that. But again, they're on the clock. Now, depending on what Microsoft does, which at this point in time, I don't think they would ever do, they could have a chance of pulling Call of Duty away from Sony over the next, since this one just released, the next 9 years. They're going to be in contract to have to give it to them. But after that 10th year, we know that they have to go back to the table. And who's to say that they would give Call of Duty back to Sony? But I do believe that that's a shoo-in. especially the way things are going with Xbox, you just don't know what's going to happen with them with next generation. I don't think they're even remotely thinking of pulling that franchise off of PlayStation. But again, for the long term, though, who's to say that Call of Duty will still be relevant 9 years from now? So I think Sony, they're trying to put themselves in a self-sustaining type of situation where they don't have to depend on Call of Duty, but they'll have their own games that can bring in those sustainable financials that they very much so need. Now, he continues. Now, Herman also mentioned economic challenges as a major reason why PlayStation has a refocus on evolving its revenue streams. Now, we also state, the economy is absolutely terrible right now. Like I said, it's just me and my wife. I don't know how a family of four is making it. Me and my wife, it's just us two. We don't have children. Man, it is nothing for us to spend $250 for groceries that are only going to last a week. And it's just us two. So I can't imagine how that is affecting people with 3, 4 kids, 2 kids. It's a whole lot of doggone money just being spent on just food, which is something that we all need. So I can definitely understand where he's coming from when he's talking about the economic challenges, being a reason why PlayStation has a refocus on evolving its revenue streams. Now, we also stated, and this caught my attention, in no uncertain terms, that single player games alone, he said, simply aren't enough to prop up PlayStation's financial position. So the single player games are just not enough. They need that constant revenue coming in. I mean, Spider-Man 2 selling 15, 20 million copies or however many millions of copies. God of War Ragnarok selling millions upon millions of copies. That's still not enough for them when it comes to their financial position. So again, this just shows that these guys are still gonna more than likely keep the gas games coming. It'll just be a matter of, if they will be successful, but I don't see that trend stopping anytime soon. Now, in closing, Herman said, quote, "We need to be strategic." Now, this is gonna have a big question mark to it, but he says we need to be strategic in bringing our games to new platforms and recognize when our games fall short of meeting player expectations. He said, again, we need to be strategic in bringing our games to new platforms. Woo-wee! What does that mean? What does that mean? Does that mean quite possibly that we could see a game possibly being on Xbox? Could that be a possibility? Could it be? Who knows? I mean, him saying they got to be strategic. Now, granted, I don't think that means day and date anywhere. PC or anything, any other console, none of that. Now, granted, you could say, well, Horizon, that new Horizon Lego game is a day and date on the Nintendo Switch. I mean, yeah, I got you. That is true. That's an argument to be made, but I don't think their major titles are going to be on any other platform day and date. I just don't see that happening. They're just going to have to be very strategic, but we'll see what happens with this. That was a lot of statements by Herman Hulse, but hopefully things will work out, and we will stay tuned to see how this all comes out in the wash. But let's go ahead, guys, and let's just get into, keeping with PlayStation for a minute. I got this from VGC. This is just a quick, interesting stat. Now, Sony Business Group CEO Hideki Nishino said, quote, 20% of customers actually got the PlayStation 4 Pro, end of quote. Now, we also confirmed they were working on the PlayStation 5 Pro before the PlayStation 5 launched and said, quote, it was another 5-year project for us, end of quote. Now, also, people making a big deal. This is another thing. People making a big deal out of Sony having the Pro around to extend the generation out to the 10-year mark. This isn't new. This has been happening ever since, I believe, the PlayStation 2 generation. Could have been PlayStation 1, but I think PlayStation 2 was one of those generations where that console was old and it was still getting FIFA made on it. Madden was still being made on it. I think at that time NBA Live was still being made. It stayed around for a long time. And you can look not even that far away to the last generation, PlayStation 4. We see that console is continuously rearing its old head out this joint, having games being made for the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5, and that console is over 10 years old. So this is not a big deal, again, about them having the PlayStation 5 Pro coming out there to extend the generation. It has been being extended, like I said, since the PlayStation 2 era. Let's move on, though, to the next story that I actually got from Gaming Bolt. Now, if you want to play Death Stranding 2, but don't know what happened in the last one, like myself, it wasn't no way I was slugging through that joint. I want to know that any of y'all even played Death Stranding. That game, I bought it. It was dope in the beginning. I'm talking that first 2 hours, captivating, vivid, amazing. But then when it came to having to walk those trails and your feet start getting blisters and no. I ain't doing this. I can't shoot nobody. Ain't no action going on. Just mountains, just mountain upon mountains. Ain't nothing happening, nothing moving or anything. So I was not finishing Death Stranding. But if any of y'all have done it, congratulations to you. But anyway, getting back to the point, Hideo Kojima did confirm that it will be a recap option in the second game on the main menu itself. Now, though he did say it's, quote, very much temporary, end of quote. Now, by the time the sequel releases, this is said to be releasing in 2025, but the first game, when this game releases, will be 6 years old. So I do believe that a recap definitely that might be something that a lot of people may need. 6 years ago that the game released, you just might need that. But let's go ahead, guys, and let's get into the next story that I actually got from Pure Xbox. Now, Undead Lab studio head Philip Holt, now he didn't say anything about State of Decay 3, but he did tell us how big the studio has become, saying that back in 2013, when their first game released, it was a team of 20. Then the second game released, they bumped it up to 60 to 65 people. And he says that the number has since doubled the size today since the second game released back in 2018. So we're talking about maybe 120 to 130 people have possibly been added to the roster. So hopefully with that many people being on the roster, that means that this new game coming up that what is it? Doggone. What's the name of the game? State of Decay. State of Decay 3. Hopefully this game will be great. Because I will say again, just going back to that showcase. Ooh, that showcase that they had over the summer, man. State of Decay 3 was looking good. Oh, it was looking real good. Graphically, the doggone gameplay. I said, man, the story seemed like it could be something. I mean, we'll see what happens, but it had potential. Definitely had potential to be something. So hopefully them being able to double the amount of people at the studio. Hopefully that means that they will have a lot of great talent that will be able to work on this game and make this game amazing. But we shall see what happens in the future. Now let's go ahead, guys, and let's get into the next story that I actually got from Games Radar. So now I don't want to talk about a game. Actually, I do. I want to talk about a game that I believe when it's all said and done will be remembered fondly. And I know right now it got a bad stench on it right now. People don't like it for whatever reason. People don't like it. But the game that I'm talking about is Star Wars Outlaws. Yes, I stand by this game. This game is amazing. I got about 36 hours in it right now. 36 hours, and the game continues to get better as I go. I have been enjoying it. I've been having a great time. But let's talk about Star Wars Outlaws. And to add just a little validity to this, similar to CD Projekt Red, because I'm saying I think this game is going to be remembered fondly. I'm just trying to think back to a time, when CD Projekt Red was working on Cyberpunk 2077 to improve its shortcomings, and that game ended up being amazing. People love it. So I do believe that Star Wars Outlaws could have that same outcome. Now, the team behind Star Wars Outlaws continues to do the same. They continue to do what CD Projekt Red did. So creative director Drew Reckner said this, and I quote, "There are 3 key areas in which we're looking to improve the game even further," end of quote. So he talks about improving the combat by saying, quote, "more depth and excitement to the experience, further rewarding your tactics and precision," end of quote. So you need to make sure that the combat is right. I've been enjoying shooting jokers down with the blaster or creeping up on them, Sam Fisher style, and knocking them out. It's been fantastic. I'm telling you, I have been loving this game. Over 30 plus hours, 36 hours. In the game, I have been enjoying myself. Now, the second key area is stealth. They're working on this area of the game by improving the readability and consistency of enemy detection. And the third area, that was a real problem for people. The stealth areas where they just did not like it. They would be seemed like that they would be found out a little too quickly. I enjoyed the stealth. Like I said, we haven't had a Sam Fisher game in a while. I was like, man, this is kind of like Sam Fisher to a certain degree. I was enjoying it. But for others, they wanted to attack the game the way that they wanted to, and they were not feeling the stealth missions. So they're working on that. That's another part of the, game that they're working on, improving. And the enemy detection as well. Now, the third area is character controls. Now, to make finding cover and utilizing it more reliable, as well as making climbing and crouching more responsive. Now, the great thing about these updates are we'll get to see them in action on November 21st. Now, the team is also calling this the, quote, biggest update yet, end of quote. So we'll definitely see how it turns out. Again, look, if you can get it cheaper, I would recommend getting it as cheap as you can. That is fine. I'm never going to knock a sale. I can't. I am so cheap that if I can get something on a sale, I'm doing it. I'm going to do it right away. But I will say, as a person that paid full price for Star Wars Outlaws, I have not regretted my decision. It has been fantastic. I'm about 80% done. Like I said, at 36 hours of playtime, and it has been a blast for me. Whether I'm fighting in space, on my ship, whether I'm upgrading my ship, whether Kay is getting some new gear, which I just got. I got some new pants and whatnot that's helping my adrenaline and whatnot. Whatever the case may be, giving Nix different treats with different bowls and whatnot to make them do different things. it's just been great, man. I have been having a great time. And again, if it was a game that you were interested in playing and, maybe the reviews kind of, made you feel like, maybe I don't want to get it. Again, I don't go off of reviews. I don't. If it's a game I want to play, I'm going to play it. And I would recommend that you do the same. And if Star Wars was one of those games, Outlaws that is, was one of those games you were looking at and you said, I might want to just try that. But the reviews said, it's okay, but you might be let down. Don't listen to them. Go out there and pick the game up and enjoy yourself. You just might enjoy it. Let's go ahead, though, guys, and let's move on into the next story that I actually got from 80 Level, or it's 80 LV. So, do y'all remember the rumor that Helldivers 2 was possibly coming to Xbox? Oh, man. Well, interestingly enough, the same outlet. Oh, yeah. The same outlet that helped start the rumor is now debunking it.
What did he say?
These jokers are debunking what they started. Now, Xbox Era Podcast in their most recent episode dispelled this rumor. So according to Special Nick, a port of the game is, quote, not happening, end of quote. Now, even though no specific details were given as to why, but Nick did put out his own theory as to why it wasn't happening. Now, he said Sony may have wanted Microsoft to cover the port's development and marketing costs. And because of that, Xbox declined the offer, hence taking a port of the game off the table for the platform. And you got to remember, Sony is hurting right now. Oh, man, Concord, these jokers is hurting. Allegedly $200 to $400 million lost. Shucks. These jokers said, nah, man, if you want the game, listen, if you want the game bad enough, you're going to pay for the development costs. You're going to pay the marketing costs. All of that stuff got to fall on you in order to get this game over there. And I bet they know that if they do put the game over there on Xbox, ain't nobody going to buy it. Is it in Game Pass? Is it in Game? No, it ain't in Game. I ain't buying that then. I'm going to wait for that to come on Game Pass. That's what they're going to do. Oh, man, I mean, not all of y'all. I'm throwing a little shot there. I'm throwing a little shot, just a little bit, to the people that just refuse to go out there and buy games. But I know it's some guys over there on Xbox that do pick up the games. They do buy the game. Shout out to Crimson Phoenix. But when you look at the numbers, that's the thing. The numbers, I know in today's time, numbers can kind of lie. Yeah, you can kind of lie about the numbers. You can find some loopholes, make things look better than what they are. And it's like, that's actually not true. So yeah, I'm not going to say that numbers don't lie because they can in today's time. But when you look at the charts though, and you see how the games are selling over on Xbox, I just want y'all to just do me a favor. For a game that was a third party game, everybody got the game all at the same time. Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, maybe not Nintendo. Let's take them off the table because they can't run games of today's caliber as it stands right now. So let's take Nintendo off the table. But between Xbox and PlayStation, a third-party game, I want you to tell me, when is the last time a game ranked first on the NPDs when it came to the Xbox version? When did they, for a third-party game, ever get a game where it ranked first? And I'm telling you, where of course it sold more copies on the Xbox. I'm telling you, that is a deterrent for people out there that are trying to make the money, for people out there that want to get as much money as they can. You remember it was that story, and it was rumors, nobody's name was mentioned, but it was a story where they said that they were mad that they even put the game over on Xbox because they didn't get the money back that they put in to actually publishing and developing that version of the game on the Xbox. They never made that money back. So I have to imagine that if you're looking at the platforms, if you're a person that has a game and you're trying to sell it on Xbox, I have to believe it's a little bit of hesitancy there. I don't even think that's a word, hesitancy. You hesitate to put the game over there on the platform because you don't know if it's going to sell. How well is the game going to sell on the Xbox, or are they just going to want it to be in Game Pass? And I'm sure that Sony, hurting the way that they are with hundreds of millions of dollars being lost, they said, we ain't taking that risk. That's too high of a risk. We can't do that. We can't afford it. We can't afford to have that joker mess around and tank on us for a second time, another game tank, all that development cost. Nah, man, we ain't going to do it. So if y'all ain't going to do it, Xbox, then it just ain't going to get done. And I think that's what happened. So again, for people that thought Helldivers 2 was coming to Xbox, man, you just, yeah. Don't expect it, at least not right now, and possibly anytime soon, if ever. But of course, things do change. Things can change, so never say never. Man, I sound like that Final Fantasy developer. That joker talking about never count it out. It could happen, but, we will see. I'm kind of on those lines as he was when it comes to this. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it's a possibility. We'll see what happens in the future. But let's go ahead, guys, and let's get on into the next story that I actually got from Noob Feed. Now, I want to pick back up on a topic from last week that we have more details on. So last week we were discussing Naughty Dog making an open world game. I got all pumped up. I was all excited, thinking Grand Theft Auto and all. And I was way off the mark, man. God dog, after hearing this, I wasn't even close to what it looks like Naughty Dog is working on. Now, like I said, Naughty Dog, they have an open world game. I was discussing them having an open world game last week. And, I was excited, and at the same time, I was confused because the things conflicted with earlier rumors that they were working on a first person shooter and a sci-fi game. So stuff was all over the place. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. We thought it was sci-fi. Now it's an open world game. We thought it was a first person shooter game. What the world is going on? This can't all be the same game. So this week, we find out there, now I want to say allegedly, okay, because this did not come from Naughty Dog. So allegedly, they're working on 2 separate titles that are new IPs. So the first one will have a specific, well, not specific, but it will have a sci-fi setting where you will be exploring space in an open world setting similar to Starfield. Oh. Whoa. Can you imagine Naughty Dog working on a sci-fi setting, exploring space in an open world setting like Starfield? How? That could be crazy. Now, some have said they could possibly follow in the footsteps of Mass Effect or Skyrim if the game includes an RPG plot that allows players to travel to all the different planets. So that's the first game that they're working on. This is the third person game that they're working on. Again, it's going to be a game in a sci-fi setting. Some people are saying they may borrow from Mass Effect when it comes to this, or Skyrim if it's a RPG game as well. So that's for that. So that cleared up a lot of things because, again, like I said, last I had heard, excuse me, and it was a couple of years ago now, but it was supposed to be a male and a female protagonist. They were supposed to be, man, who's this? Golly, Unprofessional Productions. I got to call them back. Hold on. All right, brothers and sisters, pardon me for that interruption. Unprofessional Productions rears his ugly head yet again. Pardon me.
Move this man.
Oh, man. Listen, I'm trying. Pardon me for that. I apologize. Now I want to get back on track talking about these two Naughty Dog games that are being worked on. So like I said, that first game is going to be a sci-fi game. And like I was saying, I remember at the time, this was years ago, we had heard rumors that it was two protagonists. It was going to be a male and a female. The woman was supposed to be the scientist, while the male character, he was supposed to have had like a bit of a shady past. He was trying to get things together. He was trying to get things on track, and they were supposed to be working together. So that makes sense that would be this game, especially if they are going to be possibly following the lines of a Mass Effect. Oh man, just imagine what Naughty Dog will be able to do in that kind of setting. On the PlayStation 5, we saw what they were able to do with The Last of Us Part 2. Graphically, story-wise, just gameplay-wise, amazing game. So I'm just imagining them getting out there, having an open world, going to different planets, Mass Effect style, having it so it's kind of like a Telltale game or BioWare where you actually can make decisions and they actually have weight to them, having an impact on the story. Oh man, they could do some things with this, but I don't want to harp on it too much. I want to move on into the second game that they're working on. Now, the second game is a fantasy RPG with a medieval setting. Now, the info that Noob Feed received on this title is you'll be taking on the role of a supernatural being like a Dracula or werewolf, though they can't be sure, which one it will be. But they did say you will be equipped with some form of supernatural ability. Now, this title was being likened to, and this is, man, oh man, these are going to be some big shoes to fill. But this game or this title was being likened to The Witcher 3. And like I said, again, this title was the one being done in first person. So you have this fantasy, this possible high fantasy game being made, and you have a science fiction game being made, both by Naughty Dog. I mean, that can't be two further worlds apart from each other. But that is how amazing this studio is. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know when they're going to come out, when we're going to see anything on these titles, but it doesn't matter which one gets to go first. I'm interested in both. I'm definitely more so interested in that science fiction joint. I mean, with Naughty Dog being at the helm, just imagining what they would be able to do. But then I also would like to see what they're going to do when it comes to this fantasy RPG being done in first person as well, because that'll be their first time ever tackling, a first person style game. So could they be able to do it? And could you imagine if they could pull that off? Would this be the first time that we have seen a studio? Nah, it wouldn't be the first time, because CD Projekt Red did it with The Witcher 3 and with Cyberpunk 2077. One being in third person perspective, and then one being in the first person perspective. So yeah, it wouldn't be the first time that it's been done, but it will be a first for Naughty Dog. So I am very interested to see if they will be able to pull this off. Let's go ahead though, guys, and let's move on into the next story that I actually got from GameSpot. So we just were talking about Mass Effect. Now, N7 Day is coming up tomorrow as I'm recording this. And as a big Mass Effect fan, I'm always looking forward to hearing, new information about the upcoming Mass Effect or whatever they're going to talk about on N7 Day. Well, this is where some of my hopes, got a little dashed, because BioWare came out on Twitter and said, quote, "We hope everyone is enjoying their time in Dragon Age: The Veilguard. It's only a few days until #N7 Day, and this year will be quieter because of launch. Be sure to check back then for a little fun, though." So, end of quote, by the way. So in so many words, yeah, we got to curb our expectations on this, and darn. Brother is hurting, man. I was really hoping that we were going to get something, but it's going to be small. It's not going to be a lot there. Joker just said, man, just check back for a little fun. God dog, a little fun. So if we were expecting maybe some more pictures of some characters, even a small glimpse of gameplay, I don't think that's happening because of Dragon Age. They want to concentrate on Dragon Age, don't want to take any shine away from the Veilguard. And I get that. That's fine. It's okay. I get it. But doggone, I would have really have hoped that they would have put something out there for us to see. But anyway, though, guys, let's go ahead and let's move on into the next story that I actually got from Insider Gaming. So Hogwarts Legacy 2. Hogwarts Legacy 2 is now in production at Warner Brothers Studios. God dog. It's in production at Warner Brothers. Whew. And according to WB Interactive Entertainment President David Haddon, he says it will coordinate story elements with the upcoming HBO series. Now, on a side note, hold on. Let's unpack that for a second. I feel like I'm speeding through. I'm trying to get y'all out of here in an hour, I'm gonna be honest. But let me just slow down for a second. So, they're making Hogwarts Legacy 2. It's now in production over there at Warner Brothers. And again, according to WB Interactive Entertainment President David Haddon, he says that he's going to coordinate story elements with the upcoming HBO series. So that means that in this new Legacy, Hogwarts Legacy 2, he's going to be borrowing some kind of, story elements from the actual HBO series, which could be very interesting. Now, of course, I don't think the show is out on HBO yet. Don't think it's happened. I think it's still in production. So depending on how good that goes, how well that storyline goes, this could really make Hogwarts Legacy 2 that much more interesting if they're taking certain story elements from the actual HBO show. It's very interesting. Again, me not being a huge Harry Potter fan, my wife loves Harry Potter. Absolutely. She got the whole box set of all of the movies. So she's a huge fan of it. Me, I've watched glimpses and certain clips of it. And I've been kind of shocked because, as an outsider, I always thought that it was, kind of a kiddie type of movie. Oh, nah. These jokers going through life and death. These kids is up against the wall when it comes to certain situations that they're in. So I was pretty shocked about that. And just the fact that, again, Hogwarts Legacy has been so well received by the Harry Potter community. Man, that just says so much. So, with all of that being said, it looks like they could possibly have a recipe for something great as long as the HBO show is really well done story-wise and sticks to the script of the characters and the lore of the Harry Potter universe. Being able to take that and expound on it inside of the Hogwarts Legacy 2 game, they could really go hand in hand. Very nicely with one another. But we'll see what happens with this. Let's go ahead, though, guys, and let's get into the next story now. This was a lot of stuff in this story that I actually got from TGP. So let's talk about Resident Evil as a whole. Resident Evil rumors.
Rumor has it it's something that only I know.
Man, this was a lot of rumors, too. So according to a playtester, yes, a playtester, he or she claims the game will feature Jill Valentine and Leon Kennedy as protagonists. Now, Chris Redfield and Barry Burton are also rumored to be supporting characters. And now I didn't write this one detail down, but I believe that they said for those two characters, they're going to more so be characters' voices that you're going to hear over the radio. They're going to be navigating you through certain situations. So that's pretty dope that they're going to include them, in the game. If these rumors are true. So again, Chris Redfield and Barry Burton are going to be supporting characters. Now, as far as the setting of the game goes, the alleged playtester is claiming it will take place 4 years after Resident Evil Village and focus on Jill and Leon as they investigate an island tied to Evelyn's origins. Whoa. Very interesting. Now, the island will reportedly feature locations like an abandoned hospital, dark forests, caves, abandoned houses, a laboratory, and even a temple. So, I mean, dog, all of this stuff is right for survival horror exploration. Can you imagine? Man, good grief. Can you just imagine how many? That is so many different elements being put into one game. Abandoned hospital, you're inside, then you're in a dark forest, then you're in caves, then you're in a house, then you're in a laboratory. I mean, the laboratory stuff, yeah, we've been through that in Resident Evil, but then they said a temple you'll be able to go to. So, I mean, all of this stuff in one game, all of these different locations, man, that is oh, wow, Capcom might be really... Jokers might be trying to hit a home run with this. It all sounds great, though. Again, I just want to caution. These are all rumors. Now, the game's main enemy will be an evolved zombie who resides on the island. Now, they can run and use a variety of melee weapons like axes and knives. I believe the article, the TGP article, kind of likened it to Resident Evil 4 with those enemy types. They were able to do the same things as well. You know, they had weapons, things of that nature. So they're kind of liking these new zombies to those NPCs or characters that were in Resident Evil 4. Now, it was also said that Leon and Jill will have been infected by the Megamycete. Now, I don't know how you pronounce this thing, the Megamycete. Spelled Megamycete, Megamycete. Pardon me, God dog, it shuts. Like I say, it's Baltimore City public school education. So pardon me. But this infection is going to cause them to have hallucinations and hearing Evelyn's voice during the game. So that could make a very interesting gameplay element where you think you're seeing something, but it's not real. It's a hallucination. You'll be hearing a voice and things of that nature. What would be dope is if they do what Ninja Theory did with their sound in H-Blade 1. I didn't play H-Blade 2, so I can't speak on it too much. Again, H-Blade 2 might be a game that I would absolutely love. I understand a lot of people didn't like it, but you know, for myself, I might love it. But the sound design that they do to make you just hear the voices, the many voices that are going on in Senua's head, it was captivating. So if Capcom is going to use that kind of element, I would hope that they would take some, you know, a little bit of, I would say, take some elements from what they did over there at Ninja Theory with H-Blade, you know, kind of put that into the game and make it seem like, you know, Jill and Leon are kind of losing their mind at times. It could really, really heighten the gameplay element to the game to really engross you into those characters and those situations that they'll be in. So we'll see what happens with this, but those are the things that were said. They also said that Leon, he's going to look a little older, a little more weathered. He's going to have a gray beard. I mean, it's like you can see that this guy has been through some situations that have not aged him properly. So they're saying he's going to be a little more rugged, you know, as far as his facial features and, you know, that kind of element to the game. So either way, I'm very excited about this. Resident Evil 9. I have been absent from the Resident Evil franchise for quite some time. I still have Resident Evil 4 Remake, still haven't played it. I got Resident Evil 2 Remake, still haven't played it, even though I played the original of that. So, you know, I've just been kind of out of the loop when it comes to Resident Evil, but I am excited to hear these kind of the story elements and the gameplay elements that could go into Resident Evil 9. And it really does get me very, very interested to see what Capcom will come up with, what they'll come up with when it comes to this title. But let's go ahead, guys, and let's get into the next story. Now, I got this next story from Gamatsu. Now, Executive Vice President and head of Sega's Global Transmedia Group said this during a VGC interview. He said, quote, "So we have a suite of titles in development right now that fall into that legacy bucket, which we announced last year at the Game Awards. Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, Streets of Rage, Shinobi, and we have another Virtual Fighter being developed. And so all that's very exciting. A new Virtual Fighter is in development. Yeah. Fantastic. So they're just bringing back all of their classics. Virtual Fighter, I used to love Virtual Fighter 2 and Virtual Fighter 3. Virtual Fighter 2 on Sega Saturn. Was it Sega Saturn? Yeah, I had a blast with that. Matter of fact, that came with the console. I just enjoyed playing the drunken old man. His style was just so dope. The drunkard style or whatever style you call it, man, I was able to wreck shop when it came to him and his combos and whatnot. Oh, it was just incredible. Just a fantastic game. I'm not big into fighting games, but I did enjoy Virtual Fighter. You could do the ring out, knock him out of the ring and things of that nature. Cage was cool. I liked him. I forgot the girl's name. What was it? Sarah, I think her name was. I was a fan of quite a few of those characters. Jeffrey, man, that Joker, man, he was dope. Him, Wolf, all of those guys. So, I mean, like I said, I'm not the biggest fighting fan, but Virtual Fighter and Tekken, those are like my top. Yeah, I don't know. Tekken for sure. Virtual Fighter is cool, but Virtual Fighter was a little slower. I haven't played like the newer versions of it, but back then it was a little slower. Tekken was a little more fast paced, a little bit. But then one of my favorites, Soul Calibur, golly, that was amazing. Incredible. That's crazy that Namco made both Tekken and Soul Calibur. So yeah, I was never like the biggest Street Fighter fan or anything like that. Marvel vs. Capcom. That's the one. That is the one. That one right there might be my favorite. Marvel vs. Capcom. Those games were fantastic. I enjoyed them. They were great. Virtual Fighter also was great. It was good. It was good. I'm not going to sit up here and say, it was like one of the best. Nah, I don't even think Virtual Fighter would make my top 3. I don't think so. But nonetheless, for people that are fans of Virtual Fighter, a new one is in development. Now, let's go ahead, guys, and let's get into the final story for this week that I actually got from BC. And this is in Nintendo news. Oh, we got some huge information from Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa over on Twitter, who said this. He said, quote, this is Furukawa over on Twitter. He said, this is Furukawa. At today's corporate management policy briefing, we announced that Nintendo Switch software will also be playable on the successor to the Nintendo Switch is backwards compatible. Switch 2 is backwards compatible. Officially, it's Batman. We had heard this for months ago. They were saying that the Switch 2 would be backwards compatible. It was a rumor. It was going on. Everybody was hoping it was true, but the president, again, Shuntaro Furukawa, he said again, we announced that Nintendo Switch software will also be playable on the successor to Nintendo Switch. He continues, he says, Nintendo Switch Online will be available on the successor, so they will have Nintendo Switch Online with the Switch 2, which is good. He says to Nintendo Switch as well. He says further information about the successor to Nintendo Switch, including its compatibility with Nintendo Switch, will be announced at a later date. End of quote. So this is fantastic news. That's two big key items of information. The Switch 2 will be backwards compatible and it will be online as well. So I'm guessing that they will take those older titles that they have on the Switch right now, the Super Nintendo, the N64, the original Nintendo, all of those titles I'm sure will be available on the Switch 2, and you'll have backwards compatibility. That is marvelous, because Nintendo in the past, they would have sold you the same game over again, and you would not be able to use your old copy to play it on the new console. You would have to buy a brand new copy in order for that to happen. So that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. Competition. If Xbox wasn't doing backwards compatibility, PlayStation probably wouldn't be doing backwards compatibility, which would mean that Nintendo wouldn't be doing backwards compatibility. But because your competitors are doing something and you don't do it, it's going to make you be looked at in a certain way. It's going to have people look at you a little sideways like, wait a minute, those two just did it. Why aren't you doing it? So that's why, again, competition is key. This is fantastic. I'm glad to hear this because I haven't played nearly enough for the Switch this generation. I got about 6 or 7 games that I have not played that I want to play, but just haven't got around to. So knowing that the Switch 2 is going to be backwards compatible, oh, buddy, I can't wait to get my hands on that, to be able to play these older games, and more importantly, be able to play some new ones as well. Anyway, that is the end of the gaming news this week. Now, there will be no video game theater because we ain't gonna be able to do, we ain't got enough time this week, but that's all right. We'll pick it back up next time. But what I do want to do is I want to ask you guys a question. And I know y'all saw the question, and I thank y'all for being here. I truly, truly do. But let's go over it officially, because this is a big week. This is a big week. Outside of the president stuff and all that stuff has been settled. It's whatever. My life is going to continue on like it always has. I ain't tripping on none of that. But what I'm talking about for me, what got me hyped up this week is that the PlayStation 5 Pro is releasing later on this week. Matter of fact, what's the date of 6? It's releasing tomorrow. Tomorrow, the PlayStation 5 Pro is releasing, and my question to you is, how many PlayStation 5 Pros will sell in November? How many units do y'all think they're going to sell? Me, I'm going to say I think they're going to sell 1 million. I think they're going to sell 1 million. In this month, I think they're going to sell 1 million units. I think so. Now, wait. That number might be a little too high. Hold on. Let me take it down to earth a little bit. They might not even have that many doggone made. I'll say realistically, I think they sell about between 3 to 500,000 this month. I think they move about 3 to 500,000 units. I'm just curious to know, how many do you think they're going to move? I'm going to stick with between 3 to 500,000. That may be a lot aggressive, but I do believe this is a product that a lot of people are waiting on. There's certain people that enjoy Xbox that are also picking one up as well. So I think that, this console goes between 3 to 500,000. I mean, it's running games a lot better. It's a bigger jump than what the PlayStation 4 Pro was. I'm having ray tracing happening in some of these games, running at 120 frames for some. One of those racing games, I know it's just, it doesn't really mean anything to numbers, but it is impressive. One of them running in 8K, as it were. I think those things really mean something to the hardcore gamers. So I do believe that this is going to sell pretty good. And again, going back to the numbers of the PlayStation 4 Pro, it did sell 20%. 20% of the PlayStation 4 fan base did buy it. That is pretty good. I would say, man, does that mean that the hardcore have grown from a 10 percentile to possibly 20%? That would be interesting. I can't prove it, but we all know that usually the hardcore are the ones that go out and buy these type of consoles or these kind of products. But anyway, I'm rambling. I would love to get you guys' thoughts. If you do want to be a part of the conversation, you can feel free to do it two different ways. You can either email the show, and the email address is theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com, or you can call into the show to let your voice literally be heard at 443-627-9087. I was your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and again, I want to thank you guys so much for being here. Thank y'all. So with that being said, guys, before we officially get out of here, always remember one thing. It is not about the consoles. It is about the games. So until next Wednesday, when we do it again, until then, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.